My name is Priya, and I need to tell you about the day my parents thought abandoning me would be funny. The day they discovered that some jokes crack foundations so deeply, they can never be repaired. The Delhi heat in late June was suffocating, the kind that makes the air shimmer like water above hot asphalt. I sat in the back seat of our old Maruti Swift, my face pressed against the window, watching the city blur past. My 25th birthday was tomorrow. Not that anyone had mentioned it. My parents, Vikram and Meera Sharma, were arguing in the front seat about the GPS not working properly. "I told you to update it," Mom snapped, fanning herself with a folded newspaper. "The thing costs money, Meera. Unlike some people, I think before spending." Dad's knuckles were white on the steering wheel. I'd heard this song before. It was the soundtrack of my life. Their bickering, their complaints, their constant reminders that life was expensive, and I was part of that expense. Even though I'd been working at the call center for 3 years, contributing 80% of my salary to household expenses, we were supposedly driving to visit my aunt in Gurgaon, though something felt off. They'd insisted I come along, which was unusual. Normally, they preferred their space, treating me more like a tenant than a daughter. The car slowed near Hazrat Nizamuddin railway station, and Dad pulled into the parking area. The massive colonial structure loomed before us, travelers streaming in and out like ants. "Why are we stopping here?" I asked, already knowing something was wrong. Mom turned around, and I'll never forget the smile on her face. It wasn't warm or maternal. It was the smile of someone about to win a bet. "Priya beta, go get us some water bottles from inside. And maybe some samosas if you find a good stall." I looked between them. "There's water in the trunk." "That's warm. Go get cold ones." Dad's voice carried that edge that meant don't argue. I should have refused. Should have seen it coming. But 25 years of conditioning is hard to break. I grabbed my purse and stepped out into the blazing heat. The station was chaos. Families huddled around luggage vendors, shouting prices, announcements echoing in 3 languages. I found a stall selling overpriced Bisleri bottles and bought 3, then spotted a samosa vendor. The line was long, and by the time I'd gotten our order, 15 minutes had passed. When I returned to the parking spot, my stomach dropped. The car was gone. I stood there, plastic bag cutting into my fingers, samosas growing cold. My mind refusing to process what I was seeing. Maybe they'd moved to find shade. Maybe. My phone buzzed. A WhatsApp message from Mom. "Happy early birthday, Beta. Consider this your gift. A lesson in independence. Let's see how long it takes you to get home. Your father says 3 hours. I bet 5. Don't call relatives for help. That's cheating." The emoji at the end made my vision blur. They'd left me. As a joke. As a bet. My hands shook as I tried calling. Straight to voicemail. Again. And again. Another message popped up, this time from Dad. "Stop being dramatic. It's just 25 kilometers. You're always saying you're so independent. Prove it." I stood in that parking lot surrounded by strangers holding cold samosas I'd bought with my own money for parents who'd abandoned me for entertainment. 25 years of memories crashed through me. The time they'd locked me out overnight at 15 because I came home 10 minutes late from tuition. Teaching responsibility, they'd called it. The birthday they forgot when I turned 18, then blamed me for not reminding them. The college admission I'd earned to IIT, which they'd forced me to decline because girls don't need such expensive education. Every salary I'd handed over, keeping barely enough for bus fare. Every dream I'd shrunk to fit their demands. Every time I'd made myself smaller, quieter, less inconvenient. And now this. A joke. I was a joke to them. I sat on the platform bench, ignoring the curious stares, and made a decision. Not in anger, that would come later. In that moment, I felt only a strange, cold clarity. I wasn't going home. Not in 3 hours. Not in 5. Not ever. The Hazrat Nizamuddin police station was a 5-minute walk from the railway station. I'd never been inside a police station before, and the smell of old paper and floor cleaner made my stomach turn. But I walked to the desk with my spine straight. "I need to file a complaint," I said to the constable, a middle-aged man with kind eyes. "What kind of complaint, Beta?" "Abandonment. My parents left me at the railway station as a joke." His expression shifted from routine boredom to concern. "Your age. 25. Tomorrow." He called for a female officer, Sub-Inspector Kavita Singh, who led me to a quieter room. I showed her the messages, explained the situation. Her face grew harder with each detail. "This isn't the first time, is it?" she asked gently. The question broke something in me. "No," I whispered, "but it's the last." While S.I. Singh took my statement, I made a mental list. My parents thought I'd come crawling back, tail between my legs, lesson learned. They didn't know I'd been preparing for this moment without realizing it. 3 months ago, I'd opened a separate bank account they didn't know about. Just 10,000 rupees saved from the small amount I kept for myself. I'd hidden my original documents, birth certificate, Aadhaar card, degrees, at my friend Ananya's house, after Dad had threatened to burn them during an argument about my attitude. "We'll send a unit to check on the situation," S.I. Singh said. "Do you have somewhere safe to stay?" "I'll figure it out." She studied me. "There's a working women's hostel nearby. Clean, safe, affordable. I can make a call." I nodded, grateful. While she made arrangements, I took out my phone and began the process of severing 25 years of entanglement. First, the bank app. I moved my entire savings to my secret account, then removed myself from the joint account where my salary was deposited. Starting Monday, my earnings would be mine alone. Next, the bills. Electricity, paid through my account. Internet, my name. Cable subscription, my credit card. One by one, I canceled the auto payments. Let them figure it out when the services stopped. My phone plan was a family bundle in my name. I removed their numbers, downgraded to a basic individual plan. They'd discover this when they tried to make calls tomorrow. The morning Metro pass I'd been paying for Dad's daily commute. Canceled. The grocery app where I placed weekly orders. Logged out, account deactivated. The medical insurance I'd purchased for all three of us from my company benefits. I removed their names. The next premium was due in 2 days. My fingers moved mechanically, each cancellation a small severing of the threads that had bound me to them. With every click, I felt lighter. By the time S.I. Singh returned with hostile details, I'd systematically removed every financial support I provided. They wanted independence, I'd give them exactly that. "The hostel manager is expecting you," she said, then paused. "Priya, what you're doing takes courage. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise." I stood to leave, then turned back. "The complaint. I want to pursue it. Not to hurt them, but to have it on record, in case they try to force me back." She nodded. "We'll handle it. And Priya, happy early birthday." I walked out of that police station different from how I'd entered. Not broken, not abandoned. Free. The hostel was basic but clean. A narrow bed, a metal cupboard, a small window overlooking a busy street. I sat on the thin mattress and finally let myself check my phone. 47 missed calls. The messages had evolved from amused to annoyed to frantic. "Okay, joke's over. Come home. Mom, 4:17 p.m. Why is your phone switched off? Dad, 4:45 p.m. Pick up the phone right now. Dad, 5:20 p.m. Where are you? This isn't funny anymore. Mom, 6:00 p.m. The police came here. What did you tell them? Mom, 7:30 p.m. How dare you involve police in family matters? Dad, 7:32 p.m. Come home immediately or face consequences. Dad, 7:45 p.m. Beta, please, we're worried. Mom, 8:00 p.m. Your father is having chest pain from stress. Mom, 8:15 p.m. I turned off my phone and lay down on the narrow bed. Outside, Delhi hummed with its usual chaos. Inside, for the first time in my life, I felt peaceful. Tomorrow is my birthday. My first day of actual independence. and I planned to celebrate it alone. I woke to sunlight streaming through the thin curtains and the sound of pigeons on the window ledge. June 24th, my 25th birthday. The first one I'd spend without trying to make myself invisible. My phone, when I turned it on, nearly crashed from the notifications. 134 missed calls. I deleted the voicemails without listening, but one message made me pause. From our neighbor, Mrs. Gupta. Beta, your parents are creating a scene. Your father is saying you've been kidnapped. I told them I saw you leave willingly, but they're telling everyone you're mentally unstable. Just wanted you to know. So it had begun. The smear campaign. I'd expected it, but the speed still surprised me. I got ready in the communal bathroom, put on the same clothes from yesterday, and made a decision. If they wanted to make this public, I'd handle it publicly too. The bank was my first stop. I needed to ensure my financial separation was complete. I'd like to close my joint account access and ensure no one else can access my individual account, I told the manager. He pulled up my records, frowning. There were 3 attempted transfers from your account last night, all declined due to insufficient credentials. Someone tried to move 45,000 rupees. My saved amount. They'd tried to drain my account while I slept. Please add extra security. No one else should have access regardless of relation. Next, I went to my office. It was Saturday, but our call center operated 24/7. My manager, Rajesh, was surprised to see me. Priya, you're not scheduled today. I need to update my emergency contacts and address. He noticed my exhaustion, the same clothes. Is everything okay? I made a split-second decision. My parents abandoned me at Nizamuddin station yesterday as a joke. I'm not going back. His expression cycled through shock, anger, and concern. Do you need help? The company has resources. Just need to ensure my salary goes only to my personal account. And maybe some extra shifts. I need to save for a deposit on a flat. Done. And Priya, happy birthday. Take the day off on me. I almost cried at the kindness. By afternoon, the calls had evolved. Unknown numbers now. Relatives, family, friends, all suddenly concerned about my well-being. I answered one from my aunt, my mother's sister. Priya, what is this drama? Your mother is in tears. Did she tell you why? Some small joke that you've blown out of proportion, really calling the police on your parents. They abandoned me at a railway station, auntie. So dramatic. It was just to teach you. I hung up. There was no point explaining to people who'd already chosen their side, but the most interesting call came from my cousin Rohit. He was laughing. Didi, you actually did it. You escaped. Rohit. I saw Uncle's Facebook post. He's saying you've been brainwashed by modern ideas and that children these days have no respect. But I know the truth. I remember when they made you skip your IIT admission. I remember when they took your first salary and bought a new TV while you wore torn shoes. Why didn't you ever say anything? What could I say? But listen, I'm proud of you. And if you need anything. One ally. It was more than I'd expected. That evening, I sat in a small cafe treating myself to a birthday dinner of chole bhature, my favorite, which Mom always said was too oily to make at home. My phone buzzed with a notification. Dad had posted on Facebook. The post was a masterpiece of manipulation. He'd shared a photo of me from last year, carefully chosen where I looked tired and thin. The caption read, "Our daughter is missing. She left home after a small family disagreement and hasn't returned. We fear she may be under bad influence or having a mental breakdown. Please help us find her. A parent's love never dies." The comments were already pouring in. Sympathy for my poor parents. Criticism of today's selfish generation. Promises to keep an eye out for their lost daughter. I screenshot it all. Evidence for later. Then I did something I'd been planning all day. I opened my own Facebook and typed, "I am not missing. I am not having a breakdown. Yesterday my parents abandoned me at Nizamuddin railway station as a joke to teach me independence." This is not the first time they've done something cruel and called it parenting. I am safe, I am sane, and I am finally free. To those offering my parents sympathy, ask them why a 25-year-old who gave them 80% of her salary was abandoned 25 kilometers from home on her birthday eve. Ask them why they tried to access my bank account last night. Ask them why the police have their complaint on file. I am not lost. I am found. I hit post and turned off my phone. Tomorrow I'd face whatever came next. Tonight on my birthday, I just wanted peace. The hostel room felt different when I returned. Not bigger, but somehow more mine. I'd bought a small cupcake from the cafe and I lit a matchstick in place of a candle. "Happy birthday to me," I whispered and blew it out. For the first time in 25 years, I'd made a wish just for myself. The war began in earnest on Monday morning. I woke to find my phone flooded with screenshots from friends and colleagues. My parents had escalated beyond Facebook. They'd contacted my workplace. The email to HR forwarded to me by Rajesh was a masterclass in manipulation. "Dear Sir, Madam, we are writing regarding our daughter Priya Sharma, who works in your esteemed organization. We are concerned about her mental health and decision-making capacity. She has recently shown signs of severe stress and paranoia, making false accusations against her family. As her parents, we feel it is our duty to inform you that she may need psychological evaluation and support. We request you to monitor her behavior and, if possible, counsel her to return home, where we can ensure she gets proper medical attention. Regards, Vikram and Meera Sharma." I sat on my hostel bed, hands trembling. They were trying to destroy my career, my only source of income, my independence. Rajesh called before I could spiral too far. "HR wants to meet with you. Don't worry, I've already spoken to them about the real situation, but you need to tell your side." The HR meeting that afternoon was surreal. I sat across from Ms. Patel, the head of HR, with all my evidence laid out. The abandonment messages, the police complaint, the attempted bank access. "Your parents seem very concerned," she said, carefully studying the papers. "They're concerned about losing control," I replied. "And the free income I provided." She leaned back. "Priya, the company takes employee welfare seriously. If you're facing domestic challenges, we have resources. I'm not going back. I just need my job. It's all I have." She nodded slowly. "Your performance has always been exemplary. We see no reason for any action based on external complaints. But perhaps you should consider our employee assistance program, free counseling, if you need someone to talk to." I accepted, grateful. Not because I thought I was wrong, but because I knew the coming weeks would test every ounce of strength I had. The smear campaign expanded like a virus. My parents had weaponized every family WhatsApp group, every relative's contact list, every social connection they'd cultivated over the years. The messages followed a pattern: concern for my mental health, mentions of bad influences and modern corruption, laments about Western culture destroying Indian values, pleas for people to talk sense into me. But the cruelest blow came from an unexpected source. My best friend from college, Sneha, sent me a screenshot. My mother had messaged her, "Sneha beta, you were always such a good influence on Priya. We're heartbroken. She's saying terrible lies about us. Did someone poison her mind? Is she dating someone we don't know about? Please, if you know anything. We just want our daughter back. I haven't slept since she left. Her father's blood pressure is dangerously high." Sneha's response to me was simple. I told her, "You're the strongest person I know, and that if you left, you had damn good reasons. But Priya, they're really working hard to paint you as unstable." The narrative was clear. I was either mentally ill, brainwashed, or involved with some unsuitable man who'd turn me against my family. Because in their world, a woman couldn't simply choose herself. By Wednesday, I'd had enough. I met with Sub-Inspector Singh at the police station. "They're harassing me through third parties." I explained, showing her the messages, and attempting to damage my professional reputation. She reviewed everything with the focus of someone who'd seen this play out before. We can issue a warning for harassment, but honestly, the best defense is truth. They're banking on shame, keeping you quiet. That evening, I made another decision. If they wanted to make me infamous, I'd tell the whole story. I started a blog, The Price of Independence: A Daughter's Truth. My first post was clinical factual. Day 1, parents drove me to a railway station 25 kilometers from home. Left me there as a joke to test how long it would take me to get home. I didn't go home. Day 2, they attempted to access my bank account containing Rs $45,000, money saved from the 20% of salary they allowed me to keep. Day 3, mass messages to relatives claiming mental illness, email to employer suggesting psychological evaluation. Day 4, character assassination expanding to claims of bad influences and suggestions of secret relationships. This is what happens when you choose yourself in a family that sees you as property. I shared the link selectively to colleagues who'd asked, to relatives who'd reached out with genuine concern, to friends who needed to understand why I'd vanished. The response was immediate and divided. Some called me shameless for airing family matters. Others shared their own stories of family financial abuse, emotional manipulation, dreams sacrificed for family honor. But the one that mattered came from an unexpected source. My father's younger brother, Suresh uncle, who'd moved to Bangalore years ago after his own fight with the family. Priya, I left that house at 22 for similar reasons. They called me selfish for choosing my career over family business. 20 years later, I have no regrets. Stay strong. If you need help, I'm here. One crack in their unified front. Then another. A distant cousin admitting she'd seen how they treated me. An aunt privately messaging that she'd always thought they were too harsh. The tide wasn't turning yet, but it was beginning to shift. Thursday brought a new low. They'd found the hostel. I returned from work to find the manager looking stressed. Your parents were here. They caused quite a scene demanding to know your room number. I had to threaten to call the police. My safe space was compromised. That night, I didn't sleep, jumping at every footstep in the corridor. Friday morning, exhausted and running on adrenaline, I made another choice. I posted on my blog, "To those who say I'm cruel for abandoning my parents." At 15, locked out overnight for being 10 minutes late. At 18, forced to decline IIT admission because girls don't need expensive education. At 20, first salary taken entirely for household expenses. At 22, threatened with violence for suggesting I keep 30% of my earnings. At 24, bank account drained when I was sick and couldn't protest. At 25, abandoned at a railway station as a birthday joke. I didn't abandon them. I escaped. The post went viral within my extended network. Suddenly, the narrative wasn't so simple. The mentally ill daughter's story competed with documented patterns of abuse. My phone rang. Mom. For the first time since leaving, I answered. "How dare you?" she started. "How dare you?" I cut in, my voice steady. "How dare you abuse me for 25 years and then play victim when I refuse to accept it anymore? We gave you everything. You gave me trauma. I gave you everything. My money, my dreams, my self-worth. And you threw me away at a train station for entertainment. It was just a joke, I know. Your whole relationship with me has been a joke. Well, I'm not laughing anymore." I hung up. That night, I looked at my bank balance. After a week of hostel fees and basic expenses, I had 42,000 sarn. Enough for a deposit on a small flat if I found roommates. Enough to start over properly. The smear campaign would continue. The flying monkeys would keep coming. But I'd found my voice, and I wasn't going to be silenced by their shame. As I lay in my narrow hostel bed, I realized something. They'd called me mentally ill, unstable, delusional. But for the first time in my life, my mind was clear. I wasn't the problem. I never had been. The turning point came from the last place I expected. Security camera footage. 2 weeks into their campaign, just as I'd started viewing flats with potential roommates, my phone rang. Sub-Inspector Singh. Priya, can you come to the station? We have something you need to see. The footage was grainy but clear enough. There I was, walking into the station with a plastic bag. There were my parents sitting in their car watching. And there, the moment that changed everything, my father laughing as they drove away. My mother taking a selfie, both of them grinning like they'd won a prize. The station upgraded their cameras last month, S.I. Singh explained. We pulled this as part of our investigation. Your parents claimed you stormed off after an argument. This tells a different story. Can I have a copy? She smiled grimly. Already arranged. That evening, I sat in my hostel room with my laptop staring at the video file. Evidence. Undeniable time-stamped proof that they'd abandoned me while laughing about it. I uploaded it to my blog with a simple caption, "The joke that ended a family." Within hours, everything shifted. The first crack came from within their own ranks. My mother's cousin, who'd been sending me lectures about family values, called me directly. I saw the video, she said quietly. I didn't know. Your mother told us you were being dramatic about a small scolding. Auntie, they left me at a railway station and took selfies while driving away. I see that now. I'm sorry, Beta. I should have listened to your side first. One apology, then another. Relatives who'd condemned me began reaching out, voices thick with discomfort and shame. The video was spreading through family WhatsApp groups faster than my parents could damage control. But the real blow to their narrative came from an unexpected source, their neighbor's daughter, Kavaya, who worked in social media marketing. She'd seen my blog and the video. Without telling anyone, she'd started documenting my parents' public posts and comparing them to the timeline I'd established. Then she created her own post, a case study in gaslighting the Sharma family drama. June 23rd. Parents post happy family photos. June 23rd. 3 p.m. Parents abandon daughter at station, video evidence. June 23. 8 p.m. Parents claim daughter is missing. June 24th. Parents claim mental illness. June 25th. Parents attempt to access daughter's bank account. June 26th. Parents email daughter's employer. June 27th. Parents claim they're victims. The screenshots tell the story. The video confirms it. Sometimes parents aren't the heroes of the story. Kavya had over 50,000 followers. The post exploded. Suddenly, I wasn't just telling my story to family and friends. Strangers were sharing their own experiences. Train station joke began trending locally. News blogs picked it up. Delhi parents' cruel joke backfires. My phone became unbearable. I turned it off for entire days, focusing on work and flat hunting. But Ananya kept me updated on the crucial developments. Your dad's trying to claim the video is edited, she reported over lunch. But people who were at the station that day are coming forward. One vendor says he saw the whole thing and wondered why they drove off laughing. The public tide had turned, but my parents doubled down. Dad posted a long, rambling message about how children these days can't take discipline and how one small incident was being blown out of proportion. Mom played the health card, posting photos from a hospital claiming stress-induced illness. But their credibility was shattered. Comments on their posts were brutal. Small incident, you left her at a railway station. My parents disciplined me too. They never abandoned me and laughed about it. Getting exposed for child abuse and calling it stress. Classic. Then came the masterstroke I hadn't planned. My colleague Rajesh's wife was a journalist. She'd been following the story and asked if I'd do an interview. Not for sensation, but to discuss financial abuse in Indian families. So many women go through this, she said, forced to hand over salaries, treated like ATMs, then discarded when they assert boundaries. Your story could help others. I agreed with conditions. No photos voice, only focus on the systematic financial exploitation rather than the dramatic abandonment. The article published in a major English daily was titled, "The Invisible Abuse When Parents Exploit Adult Children." It detailed how I'd given 80% of my salary for 3 years, the forced rejection of educational opportunities, the systematic breaking down of financial independence, the pattern of punishment for any assertion of autonomy, the final joke that broke the cycle. The response was overwhelming. Women and many men shared their stories. Parents who'd drained their children's savings. Families who'd forced their kids to refuse promotions that required relocation. Children in their 40s still handing over salaries while being treated like burdens. My parents tried one last desperate move. They filed a police complaint claiming I'd stolen money from them before leaving. It backfired spectacularly. S.I. Singh called me in, barely suppressing a smile. "They claim you stole our $50,000 from their home. We asked for evidence. They said it was cash they kept for emergencies. We asked why an emergency fund wasn't in a bank. Then we showed them your salary slips and bank statements, showing you'd given them over Rs 15 lakhs in 3 years. What happened? Your father started shouting about ungrateful children. Your mother cried about her sacrifices. We warned them about filing false complaints and harassment. They left very quickly. The complaint was withdrawn, but the damage to their reputation was complete. They'd exposed themselves as not just cruel but greedy. A month after the train station incident, I moved into a small flat with 2 roommates. It wasn't much. A tiny bedroom shared bathroom kitchen duties on rotation. But it was mine, paid for with money I'd earned and kept. That evening, I got a message from Suresh uncle. Saw the article. Your grandfather would be ashamed of what his son became. You did what I did. Saved yourself. The family will survive. They always do. As I unpacked my few belongings in my new room, I thought about truth. How it has a way of surfacing despite all attempts to bury it. My parents had crafted a narrative where they were victims of an ungrateful child. But truth, like water, finds its way through cracks. The video was just evidence. The real truth was, in the years of bank statements, the messages, the patterns of behavior that so many recognized in their own lives. That night, in my own room paid for with my own money, I slept without fear for the first time in years. No worry about morning tantrums, no anxiety about handed-over salaries, no dread of the next lesson disguised as parenting. The truth hadn't just emerged. It had set me free. The registered letter arrived on a humid Thursday morning 2 months after I'd left. My roommate Deepa handed it to me with raised eyebrows. Looks official. My hands didn't shake as I opened it. Somehow, I'd been expecting this. Legal notice for maintenance under Section 125 CRPC and Hindu Adoption and Maintenance Act 1956. My parents were suing me for maintenance. The irony was so sharp it could cut glass. They'd abandoned me at a train station as a joke. Now they wanted the law to force me to support them. I read through the document, each line more absurd than the last. They claimed to be senior citizens. They were 52 and 50. They stated they were unable to maintain themselves. They accused me of neglecting my moral and legal duty. They demanded 5,000 per month in maintenance. I laughed. Actually laughed. Then I called the only lawyer I knew, Ananya's cousin, Advocate Purna Mehta. They're really doing this? Purna sounded incredulous after I explained. After what they did. They're desperate. The public humiliation, the exposed lies. This is their last weapon. Send me everything. The video, the bank statements, all of it. This is going to be interesting. That weekend, Purna and I met at her office. She'd reviewed everything and looked almost gleeful. Priya, they've handed us a gift. They want to make this legal. Let's make it legal. She outlined our strategy: countersue for the Rs 15 lakhs I'd given them over 3 years, file charges for abandonment and emotional abuse, submit evidence of their employment and assets, document their attempt to steal from my account. They're claiming poverty. Purna pulled up property records on her laptop. Your father owns the flat outright. Your mother has gold jewelry worth lakhs. They both have jobs. This is greed, not need. We filed our response, and I thought that would slow them down. I was wrong. They escalated to emotional warfare. Mom started visiting my office building, not entering, but standing outside with a sign, "My daughter abandoned me." Security eventually barred her, but not before several clients saw the spectacle. My manager Rajesh was supportive but concerned. "Your work is excellent, Priya, but this drama—" "I know. I'm handling it legally. Please just give me time." Then came the family court hearing. The courtroom smelled of old paper and disinfectant. I sat with Prerna watching my parents enter with their lawyer, a pompous man who looked at me like I was dirt. They'd dressed for sympathy. Dad in a kurta that had seen better days, Mom in a simple cotton sari, no jewelry. The same woman who wore gold to grocery shopping was now playing poverty. The judge, a stern woman in her 50s, reviewed the case. "This is unusual. Parents seeking maintenance from a 25-year-old daughter who recently left home." Their lawyer launched into dramatics. "Your Honor, my clients raised this girl with love and sacrifice. Now, in their time of need, she abandons them. They ask only for basic support, as is their right under our laws and culture." Purna stood. "Your Honor, may I present evidence?" What followed was systematic demolition. The video played on the courtroom screen. My parents' laughter echoed in the silent room as they drove away from the station. "Does this look like loving parents?" "Your Honor," Prerna asked. "Bank statements showing 3 years of transfers. Rs 15 lakhs given by a call center employee earning $35 per month. Their property papers, a fully owned flat in Delhi worth Rs 80 lakhs. Mom's social media posts from just months ago showing off new gold bangles. Poverty, Your Honor." The attempted bank access records. They tried to steal her savings while claiming she abandoned them. Their employment records? Both earning, both capable. My father's face grew redder with each revelation. Mom had started crying, but even her tears looked calculated. The judge turned to them. "You claim inability to maintain yourselves, yet you own property and have jobs. You claim abandonment, yet video evidence shows you abandoning your daughter. Explain." Their lawyer fumbled. "It was a misunderstanding. A joke taken too seriously." "A joke?" The judge's voice could have frozen hell. "You left your daughter at a railway station as a joke." Dad tried to speak. "She's exaggerating." "There's video evidence, Mr. Sharma. Are you suggesting the camera exaggerated?" The proceedings took 3 hours. By the end, my parents looked smaller, older, exposed. The judgment came 2 weeks later. I sat in Purna's office as she read it, her smile growing wider. "Petition dismissed with costs. The court finds no grounds for maintenance. Furthermore," she looked up, "the court has ordered them to pay you Rs 5 lakhs in compensation for the documented financial exploitation." I stared at her. "What?" The judge was thorough. She calculated what a fair contribution would have been versus what you actually gave. The excess plus interest plus compensation for emotional distress. Rs 5 lakhs. "They'll never pay it." "Doesn't matter. It's on legal record now. They sued you for money and ended up owing you money. The court has essentially validated every claim you made." The news spread quickly. The same relatives who'd initially supported my parents were now silent. The court judgment was public record. Anyone could see how thoroughly their lies had been exposed. But my parents weren't done. They filed an appeal claiming bias. It was rejected. They tried to file in a different court. Rejected again. Then came the final desperate message from Dad. "You've ruined us. Your mother can't show her face in society. Is this what you wanted?" I typed back, I wanted parents who loved me more than they loved money. Since that was impossible, I'll settle for freedom. He didn't reply. A month later, I heard through family gossip that they'd sold Mom's jewelry to pay for their lawyer and court costs, the same jewelry she'd hidden while claiming poverty. Poetic justice, I thought. The legal battle had cost me too. Emotional energy, time, money I could barely spare. But it had given me something invaluable: validation. A court of law had looked at the evidence and declared that I was not the ungrateful daughter they'd painted me as. I was a survivor of exploitation who'd finally said enough. As I filed away the judgment papers, Perna said something that stayed with me. You know what's remarkable? They took you to court to force you to support them. But in doing so, they proved exactly why you were right to leave. That night, I treated myself to dinner at a small restaurant. Nothing fancy, just dal makhani and naan at a place that reminded me of happiness before it got complicated. At the next table, a family celebrated their daughter's job promotion. The parents beamed with pride, the daughter glowed with joy. Normal parents, normal love, normal pride in a child's independence. I didn't feel jealous, just grateful that such families existed even if mine wasn't one of them. The legal battle was over. I'd won more than money or vindication. I'd won the right to define myself outside their narrative. And that was worth every moment in that courtroom. 6 months after the train station, I stood in my own kitchen making chai. Not a shared kitchen with rotating schedules and labeled shelves. My kitchen. In my studio apartment, tiny with a temperamental geyser and windows that stuck but mine. The legal judgment money hadn't materialized, of course. My parents had appealed to everyone's emotions about how their cruel daughter had destroyed them in court. But the judgment itself was worth more than money. It was freedom validated and stamped by law. I'd changed my number 3 months ago. The relief of not flinching every time my phone rang was worth the hassle of updating contacts. Only 20 people had my new number. 20 people who'd proven they valued my peace over family drama. Among them, surprisingly, was Rohit, my cousin, who'd called me after my escape. He visited often, bringing updates I hadn't asked for, but somehow needed to hear. They sold the car, he told me over dinner last week. And Dad says they're taking paying guests now. Good for them. I meant it. They were adults. They could figure out their lives just as I'd figured out mine. You know what's funny? He continued. They still tell people you'll come back. That you're just having a phase. 26 years is a long phase. We'd laughed, but there was sadness in it too. For the parents they could have been. For the daughter I could have been if they'd let me. Work had become my sanctuary. After the drama died down, I'd thrown myself into every project, every extra shift. My dedication paid off. A promotion to team leader with a salary increase that finally let me breathe. Rajesh had pulled me aside after the announcement. You know what I admire about you, Priya. You could have let this break you. Instead, you became unbreakable. I'd worked late that night not because I had to, but because I wanted to. Because I could stay as late as I liked without explaining myself to anyone. The apartment came furnished, but slowly I'd made it mine. A small temple in the corner. I still prayed, just not for the same things. Plants on the windowsill that I somehow hadn't killed yet. A bookshelf filled with all the books I'd never been allowed to buy. Waste of money, Mom used to say. Everything here was a choice. My choice. Deepa. My former roommate visited often. We'd cook together, experimenting with recipes from YouTube. Last week we'd attempted biryani and ended up ordering pizza when it burned. But we'd laughed until our stomachs hurt, and no one had yelled about wasted food or incompetence. You seem lighter, she observed one evening, like you were carrying invisible weight before. 25 years of it. I agreed. The blog had evolved too. What started as desperate truth-telling had become something bigger. Women and men from across India reached out with their stories. Parents who demanded entire salaries, families who sabotaged opportunities, children in their 40s still trapped in cycles of guilt and exploitation. I'd started a support group online. Every Sunday we met virtually, 15 to 20 people who understood that sometimes family was the problem, not the solution. We called ourselves the Unchained. My mother took loans in my name. One member shared last week. RS3 lakhs in debt I didn't even know about. My father made me break my engagement because my fiancé wouldn't agree to support them, another added. We listened. We validated. We reminded each other that choosing ourselves wasn't selfish. It was survival. The surprise came on Diwali. I'd planned to spend it alone, maybe visit the temple, light a few diyas on my windowsill. But a package arrived that morning. No return address. Inside were homemade laddus and a note. Every child deserves sweetness on Diwali, proud of your courage, a mother who understands. I never found out who sent it, but I cried eating those laddus, tasting what maternal love could have been. That evening, my apartment filled with unexpected guests. Ananya came with Rangoli colors. Sneha brought fairy lights. Rajesh and his wife appeared with more food than 5 people could eat. Even Suresh uncle video called from Bangalore. "You've built a beautiful life, Beta," he said, seeing my decorated apartment through the screen. "The family you choose is family too." As we sat on my floor sharing food and laughter, I realized something. I'd spent so long focused on what I'd lost, parents, a childhood home, the fantasy of unconditional love, that I'd almost missed what I'd gained. Freedom, peace, friends who showed up without obligation, colleagues who respected my boundaries, a support group that understood my journey, a small apartment that felt more like home than that house ever had. My phone buzzed with a notification. The old me would have tensed, wondering what fresh drama awaited, but it was just my bank app. Salary credited. My salary. Going into my account. For my life. "What are you smiling about?" Ananya asked. "Just thinking about how different this Diwali is from last year." Last Diwali I'd given my bonus to Dad for his urgent need. This year I'd bought myself books and plants and good coffee. Small rebellions that felt like revolutions. "Different good or different bad?" Sneha asked. I looked around my tiny apartment at friends who'd become family, at the life I'd built from the ashes of other people's expectations. "Different free," I said. Later, after everyone left, I stood on my small balcony watching the city lights. Somewhere out there, my parents were probably telling anyone who'd listen about their ungrateful daughter. Maybe they still waited for me to break, to come crawling back. They'd be waiting forever. I'd learned something in these 6 months. You can't heal in the same environment that broke you. Sometimes the only way to honor the child you were is to become the adult they tried to prevent. My parents had left me at a train station as a joke, but I'd caught a train they never expected, one heading toward my own life. The girl who'd stood on that platform holding cold samosas and hot tears felt like a different person. She was terrified, abandoned, alone, but she was also brave enough to not go back. And that bravery had built this life. My phone buzzed again. This time it was the support group chat. "Thank you for showing us it's possible to break free. Happy Diwali, Didi." I smiled, typing back. "Every ending is a beginning. Choose your beginning." As fireworks bloomed across the Delhi sky, I made a decision. Tomorrow I'd start writing a book. Not about them. They'd had enough of my energy. But about us. The ones who chose ourselves, who built homes from courage, who learned that sometimes the best family is the one you create. I went inside, turned on my laptop, and typed, "Chapter 1, the day I became free." Outside, the celebrations continued. Inside, so did mine. Some storms we weather change us fundamentally. They strip away everything we thought we were leaving, only what we truly are. I weathered my storm the day my parents thought abandoning me would be funny. What they didn't know was that abandoned children sometimes grow wings. Have you ever had to choose between family loyalty and self-preservation? What did that moment teach you about your own strength? I'd love to hear your story in the comments below. Remember, choosing yourself isn't selfish when the alternative is losing yourself. Sometimes the most loving thing you can do, for them and for you, is to leave. Stand strong. Your freedom is worth it.